to Jan Schwartz, who is our co-captain amongst many other jobs on the board and for NCJW, is co-captain of Promote the Vote. And she's doing amazing things with lots of other people to get the vote out, to get people out to vote. And she will introduce Helene Gabelnick, Ed Michalowski, and Karen Yarbrough as we find out how to vote safely and what's new with the bill that was passed. So welcome, Jan.
Thank you, Beth. So tonight the speakers will cover, as Beth was saying, the new Illinois legislation that has introduced changes in procedures and opportunities for voters in our upcoming election. Is that okay? The security and integrity issues of vote by mail in Illinois will be covered thoroughly as well. Q&A will follow the presentations, but feel free to ask questions in the chat room all the way along, and I will field those questions, and after the presentations we'll begin to ask those questions to our speakers. First, I'd like to introduce our first speaker, Helene Babelner. For the last 7 years, she has been the Voter Service Chair and Chicago Board of Electors Observer for the League of Women Voters of Chicago. She is also a Deputy Voter Registrar and has served as an election judge for the last 12 years. She has been a volunteer of the League of Women Voters for 46 years. Among many other areas of expertise, she has in-depth knowledge of issues and procedures related to voting in Chicago. It is my pleasure to welcome Helene as she provides us with her PowerPoint presentation. Helene, you're on.
Okay. Okay, I hope you're all seeing the PowerPoint. Can I get feedback? Does everybody see this?
I see it. It's
okay.
Great.
What I'm going to be talking about is sort of very general, and I'm not sure how much all of you know. So hopefully you'll ask questions if I haven't covered a lot of the specifics. So this is information for voters based on, some of this is new, based on the legislation that was recently signed. Sorry. Oops. Why am I not? Okay. So in a simple sense here, how to vote in Illinois. There are 3 ways that we can vote this time in Illinois. You can vote by mail, VBM, and this of course used to be called absentee voting or mail-in voting. You can vote early, and you can vote on election day. But in order to vote, you have to be registered, and we'll talk about the different ways to do that. If you vote by mail, you request the ballot, and then you will receive the ballot after September 24th. You then have to return the ballot. So that's very important to know. It has to be sent back and we'll talk more about the specifics there. If you vote early, you choose the place. None of these places are posted yet, but they will be. And that goes on from October 19th, probably through Election Day. It certainly will in Chicago. And then you can vote on Election Day in your own polling place. So let's talk a little bit about how you register to vote in Illinois. You can register online at this website. The registration at that website captures your signature, which is on your driver's license or on your state ID. You have to be a citizen, you have to have a driver's license or a state ID, and you have to know the last 4 digits of your social security number. Most of us do this. It's surprising. I'm surprised when I do high school kids that they don't. They haven't had to use it. These are some of the dates. If you want to register online, there's a deadline of October 18th. If you mail in a registration form, there's a deadline of October 6th. If you want to register in person, there's a deadline of October 6th. However, you then have early voting sites. And there's a difference, I think Ed will may make mention of this. In Chicago, Early voting is going to start on October 14th. Chicago and suburban Cook County are under different election jurisdictions. So some of the things that we talk about that I mentioned are Chicago specific. And I know that many of you are in the suburbs, so there will be slightly different for you. On election day, obviously you can register as well. We have same day registration. So if you forget about it totally, you still have one more chance. The mail-in form is available online. Maybe some of you have seen it in the past. And there will be drop-off available in the at the Board of Elections and at other places. Again, these places aren't posted yet. If you want to register in person, you can do it with a deputy voter registrar, although I know League has done a lot of this year. We don't have as many people going out and doing it, or at a Board of Elections facility. The deadline for that is October 6th. Early voting sites in Chicago, pardon my intruder here. I'm sorry, my cat. And I have to get rid of him. What happened here? Oh, dear. I'm so sorry.
I think you're going the wrong direction.
No, I need to go back to the top.
Previous
Just a second,
version.
I'm sorry.
There we go.
So the mail-in form, we were talking about that. I'm sorry. The next one, early voting sites in Chicago will be open from October 14th through November 2nd. And these are the hours that they have. The places aren't posted yet, but they will be. On election day, you can vote from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. at your home precinct. And at the time of the primary, there was a court order and the early voting sites remained open. So that's probably going to be the case again through this election. Okay. Vote by mail ballots may be requested online. And as of this morning, when I was talking with someone at the Chicago Board of Elections, they had about 121,000 applications had already been requested. They will be starting to mail applications the end of this week to all of the people who voted in the November 2018 elections, any election in 2019, and the March 2020 elections. Also, anybody who has registered since March 2020. The deadline for making this application for a vote by mail ballot is October 29th. You request applications online, and I have 3 places here. One is Chicago, the other is Cook County, a suburban Cook, and then if you're in another county, I don't know if that applies to anybody who's listening in today, but you can go to the Illinois State Board of Elections to get that information. If you've requested a vote by mail ballot, you will receive it after September 24th when the ballots are certified and printed. You return the completed ballot, and certainly in Chicago, and I believe you can correct me, Ed, if I'm not right, postage paid by mail, or there will be 70 in the city, there will be 70 secure drop boxes with timestamps. So that means you will put your ballot, you will stamp your ballot, you'll put it in. Those will be emptied every evening, and there's a chain of custody associated with those ballots that go into these boxes. Ballot envelopes must be postmarked or time-stamped by or on October 3rd.
November 3rd.
Sorry. If you want to vote early, if you're unsure about voting by mail, you can do it from October 19th in suburban Cook or October 14th in Chicago. And if you are not registered, you can go to any early voting site and register to vote, but you also have to vote at that same time. You can't register and go home and think about it. You have to register at the time that you vote, vote at the time you register, excuse me. You can vote on election day. Election day, as from the legislation, will be a state holiday. So all state, city, park, library, and school sites will be closed. Some of the rationale for this is that they are available. In fact, they are required to be available to be polling places. So they can't say, no, we don't want you. They have to let the boards of elections vote there. There also is something called curbside voting. I don't know yet how this is going to work logistically, but the idea is that you can drive up and judges will bring your ballot out to you. But keep your eye out. If you want to do this, you're going to have to pay attention later to what the specifics are going to be. On election day, you yourself can serve as an election judge if you're a registered voter. And the legislation provides that 16-year-old citizens may serve as election judges and they will be trained. It's been shown that if students register and students vote, obviously they have to be 18, that they will then vote in the future if they get this experience and it becomes part of what they do. So there are, I've put up here 3 sources. Chicago Board of Elections. This website has everything you ever wanted to know and more about your registration, your polling place, sample ballot, write-in candidates, and you can look up election results by precinct. So if you want to see how people voted in your precinct at the last election or any election, you may do that. This is for suburban Cook County Clerk, and again, you can see the same types of things. And then this is the Illinois State Board of Elections. If you're not in Chicago or suburban Cook, you can use this website to register to vote and to apply for a vote by mail ballot. So I think I will stop at this point and be glad to take questions.
We're going to do questions after all this.
Oh, okay, after everybody's finished. Okay. So I'll stop sharing here.
Okay. Although I think you
And I
did.
apologize for my misbehaving cat. I can't control him.
What's his name?
This is Pollux. He has a friend here named Castor, but Castor is much better.
It was a great PowerPoint
Thank
presentation.
you very much.
Thank you.
It's very confusing and it's just great to have it all blocked out that way.
Okay, and are you going to post, are you going to make this available or post it or something?
I
Yeah,
hope
okay.
I'll send it to people.
We'll see what we can do. Okay, so did Karen get on?
Was waiting in queue to be let in.
Oh,
She said she was going to try again, and then she was calling somebody because she couldn't. They said you have to wait to be let in by the host. So then
she's not on. So what should we do? Can you call her and tell her to try and Melissa will get her in?
We have no one in the waiting room anymore, so.
She gave up. Oh, so I think she's going to try to get in. Is she here, Melissa?
The waiting room is disabled, so she should be able to come right in. There she is.
Thank you. Great, we've got our speakers from Cook County. All right, Karen Yarborough is currently serving as the county clerk for Cook County, Illinois. She was elected November 6, 2018, and is the first female and African-American to hold this position. The Honorable Yarborough previously served as Cook County Recorder of Deeds from 2012 to 2018 and as a member of the Illinois House of Representatives from 2001 to 2013. We are honored to have her speak tonight on the integrity and security of vote by mail. She is joined by the Deputy Clerk of Cook County, Edmund Michalowski, who is an administrator and attorney with over 25 years of experience providing skilled leadership and legal advice to large-scale government agencies as well as private sector clients. He is currently the leading executor of managing elections for the nation's third largest election authority. So I am thrilled to say welcome, and we want to hear from you. And again, put down your questions in chat and everybody will answer them after the presentation.
Well, good evening. I hope you can hear me. I was just able to get on, but I'm glad I'm being joined by Ed Michalowski. He's taken the clerk's office by storm. I guess you all know we dodged a bullet in the spring. Before COVID really got going, it was very, very difficult. Like 48 hours before election day, we got a number of calls from people who said that they could not participate as judges, and we had to scramble and find polling places. We had to find judges, but at the end of the day, we got the job done. So I'm very pleased about that. I'm happy to meet with you all this evening. It's my understanding that you want to discuss the vote by mail program. Now, you know, this is nothing new for us, vote by mail, but we certainly are pushing the envelope on this one, wanting more people to vote by mail, because we really don't have a clue what's going to happen come the fall, and we want to be prepared. So what I would like to do is, I don't know whether you've talked about the bill that was signed into law or not. Has someone discussed that yet?
Yes.
Okay, so someone discussed that. So I'm very pleased that you know, that they got that through. We tried to do that last year. As you all know, I'm a former legislator, and so I'm always looking for ways to get things done, whether it be through legislation or just some common sense approach to getting things done. We want to be seen as a trusted source. I know there's a lot of information out there about vote by mail that's being touted as not being safe and all kinds of things. But what we would like people to do is look to us as the trusted source when you're, if somebody tells you something, just call us. We can put it to rest or put it to bed so that people aren't concerned or frightened about their vote not counting. So what I would like to do right now, I'm going to sit through the entire meeting, and I'm certainly open for questions, but I'd like to turn things over to Ed. He's over elections. You know, the clerk's office, we do taxes and elections and vitals and lots of moving parts, you know, in the clerk's office. But I want to turn it over to Mr. Michalowski so he can talk specifically about how this is going to work in the county clerk's office. Ed?
Thank you, Clerk Yarbrough, and thank you for allowing me to participate in the call tonight. When we look at mail voting, we look at the legislation, and we look at the first step in that is that the applications for mail voting have already started, and we already have in Cook County, we're having our second email go out to 300,000 people tomorrow, and in queue right now, we have over 60,000 people that have made an application to register to vote online. At the end of the month, we're going to be sending out a mailing to 1.6 million people. All of the registered voters will get an application to vote by mail. One of the things we want to do is push people when they do want a ballot. The best thing for people to do would be to register for that ballot online. When you register for an online mail ballot, you're allowed to have then complete access to where that ballot is in shipping. So through us, we've set up an intelligent mail barcode on the mailing piece that will give the individual who signs up a private URL where you can track your ballot from the time you made the application to the time it gets to your door, to the time you drop it back in the post office, or in one of our bins at any of our early voting site. So you will have full knowledge of where the ballot is in every tracking capacity. When you send in a paper form, you don't get the same availability because you don't avail yourself to the email that we can correspond with you. So that's one thing that we've done. In setting up the vote by mail process, we've had to completely re-engineer our anticipation of how we can fulfill this. Getting 100,000 pieces of vote by mail out is something that we could have done. However, based on spatial constraints, we weren't able to even consider that amount while social distancing in the old facility that we had at 69 West Washington. So we're moving the mail voting operation to our election operations system, which is at 1330 South 54th Avenue in Cicero. So we have a very nice state-of-the-art facility that we're going to be able to do all of the vote by mail fulfillment. When we think about the vote by mail fulfillment, obviously it starts at the printer. We've also reconciled and reduced any redundancies and streamlined process. So our vote by mail printer will be printing all of the inserts, and for the first time, everything will be, this might seem antiquated, but it's the first time that everything will be folded, stuffed, and everything included, including the return envelope, which you don't have to lick, it'll be a tear-off adhesive, so it won't be touched by human hands. In the past, people had to fix your name to the outside of the envelope, and there was a lot of physical manipulation of content. So we figured the way to do this and the expansion of the vote by mail process is going to allow us to go from 4,000 ballots an hour to 20,000 if needed. And in doing so, we've also reduced 35 cents per envelope that went out to the individual. So we reduced the size of the envelope that goes out to the voters. And thankfully, we've got a great partner in Chicago Board of Elections, and we work very well, and we're very creative. Last time we saved about 40 cents on the return envelope by changing the size. This time we've changed the outgoing piece of mail, and it's gone from $1.20 to 85 cents per. And they will be stamped with a return postage mark, so people do not have to worry about that. The good thing about the it's a return that does not charge, it only charges our account if it's put in the mail. So if people are putting them in the drop boxes that will be at the 54 locations, you know, that won't cost the county anything. So we're very happy that we had to work and get very creative with the producer of the mail ballots. And it also, by reducing the amount of channels involved in the process, I thought my cat was going to jump on my shoulder for a second. Sorry about that. By reducing, we had inserts printed from one vendor. We had envelopes printed from another vendor. We had the ballots printed. We had the ballots printed in advance. Now we're doing ballot printing on demand, all of the inserts and envelopes printed by one entity, fulfilled at one location. So when you're looking at election security with the ballots, they have constant security at the location, and the city and us are doing the same thing. We're having everything produced in one spot. So we're reducing redundancies and increasing efficiencies and lowering cost in the process. And then when the ballots are then being mailed, you'll have the intelligent mail barcode that'll give you a private URL to make certain that you can track it when you apply online. But in addition, at our Elections Operations Center, we've increased capacity because we don't know exactly how we would have done it under the old system. When the mail ballots come back in, they're run through a sorting machine 3 times. And if we had 400,000 mail ballots, that means we would have had to run on one sorting machine 1.2 million pieces, which when we did the math, that was running that machine for 11 days, 24/7. So we couldn't do that. So we had to purchase another sorting machine. Thankfully, with the CARES Act money through the State Board of Elections, we're able to not do a direct purchase, but once we have a contract ready, the state will fund us, so it's not going to impact our current budget. We'll be able to make the purchase and repay the vendor within 30 days. We're using the same vendor that we had because they're linked into our system. So we'll have 2 sorting machines, and after the machine sorts and images the signatures to compare, the signatures are paired off and pulled. You'll have a team of 3 election judges reviewing the signatures between the signatures on the ballot envelope and the signature in our voter registration system. The law changed, so if any one of those 3 judges say it's okay, it's moving forward. So we'll have that set up in the same spot at the EOC. So when the ballot goes to the Cicero location, there will not be any other place for those ballots to be other than that one location, which also reduces our ability for error. We've changed with the post office, we've changed the mail delivery location to account for a location that will either be in Berwyn or Forest Park. So we will no longer have, we used to have to go down to the Harrison Street post office, pick up the mail. And now that we're going to be fulfilling all of that in the suburbs, they actually have a more streamlined process, not entering the city of Chicago. So all the ballots will be mailed to a local post office, delivered to the EOC, go through the scanner, and then we have, after they're scanned, you have to make certain, like I said, that there'll be the 3 judges that will verify the signature. While that's happening, the ballots will be extracted in the same room, appropriately social distanced, and the ballots will be extracted and opened, and then they will be scanned on the Dominion voting system, which is our scanning. When they're scanned, all the ballots are imaged, and then when they're imaged, you'll see, if you can come out to the site, we'll have 20 adjudication stations. The adjudication stations are huge computer screens where the individuals, after they're scanned, actually simultaneous. What's nice about this process is all of these points can be done at the same time. In the old process, you couldn't run one facet without impacting another. There simply wasn't space. So we can do sorting, scanning, imaging, and then at the adjudication stations, they make certain that the ballot is right. They make certain that everything is done. If the ballot is torn, the election judges will pair off. They'll remake that same ballot, mark it with the 2 judges making certain they're marking the right marks, holding the old one for to make certain that we have an audit trail, and then they can scan the additional one. So we'll have the capacity, but it's kind of like building a house in 20 days. We'll have the capacity once all these moving parts get together and are built at the operations center. The whole time this is happening, we don't want to keep our eye off, from cybersecurity. So we have fully vested ourselves as a cybersecurity leader in the United States to make certain that we have not cut any corners in making sure that we have exacerbated any remote vulnerabilities with this operation. We have made certain that there are closed circuits and there are all of the cybersecurity tools that we have in our tool belt at this location and at the downtown location. We've built redundant servers, so if one location for whatever reason went down, the other server would have it. And when we're imaging the mail ballots, we're imaging a paper ballot. We'll have that paper ballot to audit, but every time it's run through the scanner, we'll have an actual scan of that ballot as well. So we have the envelope that will be held, we have the scanned ballot, and we have the mail ballot for that. And in doing so, I think, we've looked at this and we feel that, we have a long way to go because we're just getting funded and moving this forward. But we're very happy that we started thinking about this basically on about March 16th when we knew it was coming down with COVID, and we contacted all of our vendors, and I shared all this information with the city of Chicago, and they were in line making the exact same purchases we did. We planned with them because 2 groups working together can get a lot more done. So we've got a lot of work to do the final build out, but I think we're in the right spot to make certain that our capacity and our ability to get it done are fixed on 2 locations, the production site, and then at the EOC for the scanning, imaging, and holding of the ballots. So that's my little spiel on that.
Little spiel.
I thought you were amazing, Ed, and I have lots of questions for you because people have been asking while you've been talking, and it sounds wonderful. The first thing I want to just be sure that we're right. October 19th is when early voting sites start in Cook County. Is that correct?
We're looking to do something a little more upbeat this year, and not that it's through any channels, but we want to put a super site in Union Station. When we look at suburban When we look at suburban voters, where are suburban voters coming into the city at generally? Right. It's at the train stations, and we're in works with them to potentially put a super site right in the Great Hall that was redone at Union Station, or within the presidential suite, which is right off the Great Hall. And we're, right now Metro is not moving us forward with their other 3 downtown sites, but we'd like to do that. And we'd like to open the same day that the city does. If not at all 54, at most of the sites we want open for grace period.
That is amazing. Now, one question we have, which is very important, when will people start knowing where the voting sites are? When are you going to make that available?
So it's something that we're combing through. Maybe I'm not combing through it, but other people are. We're making certain that we had 3 early voting sites that were senior centers, and we're making sure that we appropriately approach the site to make certain that it's not a senior facility that wants to continue, but we want to take every known precaution to make certain that these sites are fixed. In addition, as we work this through with social distancing, we're simply not going to be able to put the same equipment in the old sites. So we're looking at potentially adding more sites. So we're pretty firm on the existing sites that we have. We've made about 3 changes, but once we look at the ability for us to overlay the equipment, we're looking at adding more sites.
So do you think the information will be on your websites by September?
Yeah, definitely.
That will be good. Okay. Somebody asked the number of people in Cook County who have already asked for ballot. How does that compare with 2016?
We weren't even asking for ballots at this time. So we're
Ahead of the game.
Yeah, we're ahead of the game. And it'll be our 2nd email going out. We have about 280,000 emails in the system. We're just loading 2 now, something on the website. When people go to the website, we're just asking them, do you want to stay connected? Give us your email account.
Yeah.
Because, and then we list all the benefits that they'll have by giving it to us. They're not going to be solicited with spam. They're not, there's 4 times a year that they will be getting key pertinent information. And when someone gets an email asking them if they want to register for a ballot, it takes them right to the website. It's an online mail ballot application. It's seamless. And it also gives them the IMB and the URL, their private URL with the United States Postal Service.
Yeah. That is great. Now, you said that everybody will have a tracking number, so we don't have to worry about being notified whether or not our vote was received and counted. Will we also be notified though, or is it just up to us to figure that out by doing the tracking number?
It's something that you will access, that you'll have access to. It'll be an automated process, and we're working that through with the IMB and that notification. So my understanding right now, the voter can check on that, with the exception of those key received, counted. So the people online will get those, the heavy benchmarks. But in the interim, with an IMB, when you have the IMB, the intelligent mail barcode, you could see, oh my God, it's in the site over here. Oh, why did they switch to Skokie? I'm from the south suburbs, then it's over here. So you can see the ballot in process, but you will also get emails of the key dates of ballot received, ballot processed.
So that will still continue. I just want to also underline that drop boxes will also, the locations of the drop boxes will also be available on your websites like around September.
Yeah, we're already working on that. And the thought is that it's going to be a separate link on the website, because people don't want to know, they want information and they want it easy. So we're going to give them that. They've already worked that out.
You're sensational. I have 2 more questions and I think we're doing good. One question is the Dominion company that you're working with the same one that they used in Georgia?
It's the same company, but it's a very different situation.
You want to tell me more about that?
Reality in Georgia, if you can imagine the Secretary of State in Illinois, I worked for the Secretary. I ran the Department of Motor Vehicles for his first 4 years, and I understand how big the Secretary of State's office is. Could you imagine the Secretary of State's office coming to Illinois and telling 102 different counties with only a few months' notice that, and this was the legislature that forced this to happen, here's your new voting equipment, roll it out. You're in charge of training, you're in charge of training, you're in charge of training. So you had all of the different counties competing with themselves to get the appropriate training done. Here, we're one office working. So the city did it after we did it. As you know, thanks to the League of Women Voters, you helped us in Oak Park, and it was really appreciated with some of the surveys that came back for that first go in the consolidated primary last March. It's the same company, but it's a different situation. We have a very good comfort level with how they are providing services for us.
Well, I'm very happy. We don't want to be Georgia with their problems that they had with
No,
voting.
we don't.
No. So there was a question about the 3 election judges who are checking the vote by mail and they're returned. How many hours a day do they work? And will there be a flood around November 3rd?
So what we're anticipating is that we're working out a per diem with potential 2 shifts for the election judges that are going to be at the EOC. And what we're envisioning is that one person will have the keyboard, and to socially distance, we'll have 3 screens. So, they'll pull up the ballot. Somebody says yes, it goes forward, yes, and we'll try to work things pretty quickly. So we're going to try to do this where we're not taxing the election judges beyond a reasonable day. And we're going to try to do this with 2 shifts of judges. Thankfully, we have a ton of space out there, and we're going to configure this. It's like considering doing a build out in your house, and you want to build a bathroom exactly where a bathroom was. So we have electric needs. We have to build out some minor cabling, but all of the workstations are already built out. So we're using space that previously existed, so we don't have to do hundreds of thousands of dollars of build out to get it done.
That's great to hear. I also have a few more questions. Do you feel that the state website will have locations for voting wherever you are, or do you think people are better off looking county to county?
No, the state does have that information, but if you know the county or the election jurisdiction, if you're in the city of Chicago, it's always better to go on their website. They have updates. When the COVID crash happened in March, and we had to cancel 80 precincts, overnight, the state couldn't keep up with the information, just as it was difficult for us to come. We were working minute to minute to update things. So I would always recommend that the best trusted source would be the election authority that you work with directly.
That's very good to know. Somebody else asked a question about nursing homes and what you're doing to make it easy for them to vote.
So we've already received the amount of nursing homes from the state that will be getting mail ballots. What we're preparing to do, the statute didn't address this, but we're going to be working on it in an order in the court to allow us to drop off the ballots at the nursing home and pick them up. We don't think it would be in anyone's best interest for us to have election judges going room to room in a nursing home under these conditions. That's what we did in March, and we're going to do the same thing. We're also being very mindful of senior living facilities who are not considered nursing homes that were either polling places or that the residents were going across the street to a polling place. We don't want to disenfranchise any of those entities. So we've identified all of the senior living facilities, and in addition to the mailings and the emails we're doing for mail ballots, we're contacting those management of all those facilities to make sure that they know that they have access to us to get everyone that needs and wants to vote a mail ballot in advance.
That sounds great. Somebody else also asked, will the judges look at every ballot signature or only those that don't match digitally?
So when we run it through the scanner I talked about, it takes an image of what the signature is on that envelope. And that compares right on the screen to the voter registration record. So each judge, the 3 pairs, because the statute says a pair of 3, and then any one of them that says yes, it just moves forward, because it says if they have to all say no. So we're looking at streamlining statutes intentionally, but we also feel that it's very difficult if somebody is saying that 3 people have to make a decision. It's good to at least let that group setting sink in. Because one person lends consideration to something that allows somebody to reconsider. It's important for that, for that to happen. If the legislator said that 3 independent people looking at it, they would have said that group of 3 election judges.
So, Ed, I'm very concerned with the PR as you are with fraud, because I think, you know, people want it, some people want us to be afraid to vote by mail. Do you think with the issues you're discussing that you could reach out for the news to do a little talk on these voter security? They always say there's very little chance of fraud, but they don't say why. Are you going to do more public speaking on that?
We are. Let me answer that. We have a communications department, and while we're trying to catch up from earlier this year, the communications department plans to ramp up to start talking about exactly what you're talking about now. Again, we want to be seen as a trusted source. We want to explain to people that, you know, I mean, you know, it's difficult sometimes if people are online on Facebook and they're getting their information from Facebook. That is not the place you want to get election information from. You want to call the clerk's office and get that information directly from us. So it's our expectation to push out quite a bit of information on why this is a safe way to vote. Now, in the last election, we did better than 60%. Either people voted by mail or they early voted. So the trend is there, and I expect it to get bigger. Even without all of this noise about it not being safe. It is safe. I use it. My entire family uses it. All of my family has already, you know, reached out for their to get their ballot, and so we just have to make the case for it. And then for the naysayers, I mean, for some of them, there's nothing you can tell them. Yeah, but like I said, more than 60% voted in the last election, either vote by mail or early voted. And so we know that people are interested in doing this. And the other thing is, again, I don't know what's going to happen in November. That you know, when you're watching the news, depending upon the station you're watching, you get all kinds of prognostications about you know, what's going to happen. You get a prognostication about, oh, this is going to be like this in the fall, and this is going to be like this in the spring, and whatever. I don't know what it's going to be. All I know is we're going to do our best to make sure that we have a clean, safe, fair election.
I know that, Karen, and I appreciate it. And I think the more we can get out why vote by mail is safer than any other method, the better, because it's low tech. You can't hack into it. You've got, I mean, it's really good. I just want to underline for people, because there's a lot of questions. You'll have a tracking number with your ballot, and that's when you'll do the tracking. You can do it yourself with the computer. So it comes when you get your ballot, which none of us will get until at least September 24th. Well, I think you have done an amazing job, Helene, Ed, Karen, and
I have one question.
Yes.
I have a need, and I want to put it out there to all of you. One of the places that we have a difficult time getting judges is from the northwest suburbs. Can you help us out there? Now, you know, the schools are going to be closed, so if you have young people who aren't going to be in school, I mean, they're affable. They like to do this. They're going to make a few bucks. They'll be out of your hair. But we have a very, very difficult time getting people from the northwest suburbs, especially, to be election judges. Can you help us?
You know, we have a coalition right now, Promote the Vote Illinois, and one of our partners is Mikva Challenge. And they are training the kids, the 16-year-olds, to be judges.
Yes.
So should I tell the people at Mikva Challenge to contact you?
You know, I believe Ed, we've had some folks in our office from Mikva Challenge, and they are absolutely wonderful. So
yeah,
Ed, was it your intent to reach out to them for judges this time?
Chance with the city is kind of trying to usurp all the judges, because
Don't let them pick them all.
Like my kids, they go to school in the city and they're more apt, but we have communication going with them to see if, and then we're also dealing with all of the various school districts, and making certain that we'll be able, and we're going to have training online. So we're developing a very advanced distance learning online training that will be, the short bites of information that people can take, a minute and a half on this and some questions, a minute and a half on that and some questions. We feel that's going to give us a great opportunity to get people in to support on election day. For each polling place, we'll have a polling place technician that will receive in-person training. So the goal is going to be at least one person in every precinct will have the in-person training. And then on election day, we will have everyone else that can fill in as election judges. And we feel that with the online training, especially with the kids doing nothing but distance learning right now, it'll be a good opportunity for us to get some very bright people in as election judges.
I think that's brilliant. We do have a coalition of about 16 organizations, and we're growing. So if you can get some of the information to us of what you need, we're making tools to communicate to people with online and with printed cards to help them through this process. And if you want us to communicate things about judges, just get that information. You have my email, and we'll get it to our coalition.
Jan, could I
Yes.
just say a couple of things?
Yes.
The Chicago Board of Elections is essentially doing much of the same thing with regard to cybersecurity and everything that Ed was talking about in terms of the way the ballots are tracked and handled and everything else. He was referring, again, he's Suburban Cook. Chicago Board of Elections handles the city of Chicago, but they've discussed, they work together, and they use some of the same equipment, and they collaborate very, very well with each other. And so a lot of the things that he mentioned is also being done by the Chicago Board of Elections. I don't know how many of people who are on this Zoom are Chicago versus Suburban Cook, but it's the same type of thing that's being done also as far as training judges and everything else. So I just wanted to put in a plug here for Chicago.
That's a really good point. And I guess I want to ask is, can people continue, we have other suburban sites here that people live in the metropolitan area. Can people count on that, whatever county they're in, or not?
Well, I don't think any of us can speak for the other counties. I mean,
okay. So for DuPage or Will County,
maybe Clerk Yarbrough would like to make a comment, but
I can't speak for other counties. I can just tell you that, we have relationships with other counties. We meet from time to time to discuss, various and sundry things. Cook County is a big county, and Suburban Cook is a huge undertaking to pull off an election. So, but we do collaborate, and I'm real happy that we're able to collaborate so well with the city of Chicago. I mean, they've been terrific. We've shared ideas, and if you talk to them, I think they'll tell you that we have a great working relationship. I wanna say something about Ed here, if I might. When we came into this office, which wasn't so long ago, it's been less than 2 years ago, he's been able to cut costs in so many different ways. I'll just show you one thing off the bat. We had these equipment managers, people and these techs that would go out to the polling places. Well, they had the tech, and then they had 100 people on the payroll to be drivers. And so, when we sat down and we talked about this, I said, well, why do these techs need to be driven around? And he said, they don't. We're not going to have all of that. If a tech can drive, then he'll have a job. But I mean, he's just looked for ways to save money. And I really want to acknowledge him, because he's always looking for how we can save a few cents, whether it be with mail or in the other processes. Right now, we're doing some trainings that we used to do face-to-face that we're going to be doing online. So, Ed, I'm giving you your flowers right now.
well, I can tell listening, Karen, to you and Ed, how lucky we are. Can you tell me what percentage of Illinois is taken over by the city of Chicago and Cook County, what percentage is that of the total voters?
Is there 5.5 million total, and in the aggregate, the two of us have 3.6. So we're over almost half, more than half.
More than half. 3/5 is more than half. You are doing an incredible job, and I feel so lucky to live in Illinois. I just feel so lucky to live here and in Chicago.
Clerk Yarbrough was alluding to the deputy registrar online training. You were mentioning at the beginning of the call when I was listening. So for suburban Cook County, the clerk asked us to come up with a online education program. So whether it's the League of Women Voters or any other political organization that can have the deputy registrar classes, you no longer have to have someone come out to your class. You can take it online. You could take the oath to one of our suburban courthouses or to the downtown facility, and you sign the oath that you took the class, and there'll be a little test, and you'll pick up your materials. So you won't have to schedule large scale. So for your organizations, as you're looking to plug people in as deputy registrars, as things get more back to normal, you will no longer have to take classes for that in a group if you don't want to.
That is good to know. Well, I'm going to wrap this up. I can't thank Helene and Aaron enough. You've been amazing, really.
Thank you.
I've learned a lot, and I kind of know a lot, and I've still learned a lot. So I so appreciate it. Thank you so much for helping us understand more.
Thank you.
Really
Thank you for
important.
the opportunity.
Thank you so much. This is enlightening. It's interesting. We've had several other programs on voting, and each one is different and fills in with so much information. So it's very complex, and you're all making it understandable and digestible and wanting to get people out to vote. So
And it matters, and voting in a pandemic is tricky.
Yeah, a little bit, a little bit.
so,
Thank you, one and all.
But
Thanks
we've
for
got some-
coming, everybody. Thanks, you speakers. Thank
Thank
you, all of
you.
you.
Thank you.
thank you. And
Bye-bye.
we will have the slides available to you. So thank you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.
Okay, thanks so much.